Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. This improves the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in for months what it takes them a year to achieve. I've actually not read any books on time management. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future, and wondrous new technology where you see it and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? Really pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. What makes the innovative thinking happen? I think it's really a mindset. You have to decide. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. Being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I think most of the important stuff on the internet has been built. There will be continued innovation for sure, but the great problems of the internet have essentially been solved. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness to make sure it continues into the future. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, nah, what's wrong with a horse? That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. When somebody has a breakthrough innovation, it is rarely one little thing. Very rarely is it one little thing. It's usually a whole bunch of things that collectively amount to a huge innovation. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. You have to say, well, why did it succeed where others did not? I would just question things. It would infuriate my parents that I wouldn't just believe them when they said something, cause I'd ask them why, and then I'd consider whether that response made sense given everything else I knew. It's very important to like the people you work with, otherwise life and your job is going to be quite miserable. We have a strict no assholes policy at SpaceX. I think the best way to attract venture capital is to try and come up with a demonstration of whatever product or service it is, and ideally take that as far as you can. Just see if you can sell that to real customers and start generating some momentum. The further along you can get with that, the more likely you are to get funding. Disruptive technology, where you really have a big technology discontinuity, tends to come from new companies. As much as possible, avoid hiring MBA programs don't teach people how to create companies. Don't delude yourself into thinking something's working when it's not, or you're gonna get fixated on a bad solution. If something has to be designed and invented, and you have to figure out how to ensure that the value of the thing you create is greater than the cost of the inputs, then that is probably my core skill. I always have optimism, but I'm realistic. It was not with the expectation of great success that I started Tesla or SpaceX. It's just that I thought they were important enough to do anyway.